Oh, hi, Pastor Bear here. I'm talking about Jacob. I have this is Unsplash, by the way, from unsplash.com. It's copyright free, commercial use. Even though I have a nonprofit, so I'm good. I'm good legally. This is Joseph in Genesis, part 11, the last chapter. Oh, and by the way, if you guys, if you like my series and my presentation, please subscribe. And I also love your comments, positive preferably, or constructive. But if it's negative, serves no purpose. But you've been warned. Okay. Now, let's talk about Jacob's burial toward the end of his life. At the end of his, I believe it was 147 years. And chapter 49 and 50 combined, because 49 talks about his prediction, his prophesying for his sons. So I don't want to go over that too much. I'm mostly emphasizing the last part of 49 and mostly in the 50. So when Jacob calls his son, and then most of 49, he said, now this son, this will happen, this son, that will happen, so on and so on, all 12 of his sons. And then his final burial instruction, he told his son that they're going to bury me. I'll die here, but I want you to take me and bury me in Canaan, and that field that Abraham bought, that Abraham is buried, that Sarah is buried, that Isaac is buried, Rebekah, and their father, Jacob's father, and Leah was there, Jacob's other wife, and in that cave. So he made his son promise that he'll take him and bury him. So when he finally, it says he drew up his breath, drew his feet up in the bed, took his last breath, and gathered to his people. That is, he died. So of course Joseph and all his brothers, they were all quite heartbroken, as we all are when we lose a loved one. So Joseph wept and kissed him, and then had him embalmed, like mummified apparently, and it took him 40 days to do that, and then he mourned for Jacob for 70 days. And then Joseph went to Pharaoh and said, let me go to Canaan to bury my father. That's what I promised him I would do. So Pharaoh said, go ahead, you fulfill your oath. So then he took all his household, the elders of Egypt, Joseph's family, his brothers and brothers' family, the whole shebang, everybody went to Canaan. And it's a huge number of people. It's a very impressive procession, as the Christian Standard Bible says. So when they reached the threshold, Joseph cried and lamentated and wept loudly for 7 days for his father. And the Canaanite looking on said, wow, look at the mourning of the Egyptians. And they called it Abel Mizraim, I didn't pronounce that right, which means the mourning of Egypt. And it was just across the Jordan where the field was that Joseph's great-grandfather Abraham had bought. So Joseph and his brother did what Jacob wanted him to do. They went to Canaan and had him buried. Then when he buried his father and did all the mourning, he came back to Egypt. So now, once they got back to Egypt, now here's the interesting thing. Apparently in ancient times, when the father died, then whoever was left could do whatever they felt like to his siblings. They can let loose and get revenge or whatever else they feel like doing. Apparently that was the custom, especially when in the royalty, when the oldest son gets the throne, he usually kills all his siblings and uncles and anybody else who might be a threat to his kingdom. I guess maybe some people feel more insecure. Unfortunately, the insecure people back then had absolute power. Anybody else did. to get rid of any competition, unfortunately. So now, his brothers sent a message to Joseph and said, "Oh, if you hold a grudge, and he might hold a grudge against us, maybe we should send a message, ask forgiveness." He said, "Please forgive your brothers their transgression and their sin for the suffering that we caused you." So when Joseph got this message, he wept, and so the brother came down, bowed down before him. We're your slaves. And Joseph said, "No, don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You plan evil against me, but God planned it for the good, for the survival of Egypt and for us and the surrounding nation. So don't be afraid. I'll take care of you and your children." So he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Now, in the last 20 verses 22 to 26 and verse 50, kind of summarizes what happened to that generation. That Joseph lived to 110 years. That is old as Jacob, 147 years. That's really old. 110 years, that's old. And he saw his children to the third generation. That made him a father, a grandfather, and a great-grandfather. That's pretty cool. So Joseph made his brothers a vow that I'm going to die here, but I want you to take my bones back to Canaan. Don't know when that's going to happen, but that's what I want you to do. And they all made the promise. So when Joseph died at 110, they embalmed him and placed him in a coffin in Egypt. And that, my friend, is the end of Joseph in Genesis, part 11, the final series. And again, if you love my series, I don't know what I'm going to do after this. The Lord leading me to talk about forgiveness, maybe the preaching, or maybe stories about forgiveness, what should have or shouldn't have done. So unless something else comes up, so that's where I'll most likely go. So again, if you love what I do, please subscribe, and I love to hear your comments. You know how my comment policy is. I just said in the beginning, but those who missed, love your positive comment, constructive criticism, the positive and the negative, but if negative only serves no purpose. Bye. Okay, well that's it, and I will see you on Friday. That's the plan. All right, bye.